Voila. All right, brother. Go for it. Who are you?
Hello, I am Shortz. I own Flow State, the home of CrossFit Tewkesbury, from the UK.
Woo.
The early days, I was the CrossFit judge in the snapback cap, and nowadays I just focus all my time on coaching and trying to help the next generation of coaches.
Oh, how did you start, man? I don't actually know how you started in this whole like path realm, whatever you want to call it. So how did you end up getting onto this?
So initially I was into mixed martial arts.
Oh, nice.
And my original CrossFit coach, a guy called Craig Rutherford, he came in one day and he's like, do you know what? To get fitter and stronger, we need to be doing this thing that I've been training myself. It's called CrossFit. And he came in and he started putting us through it. My first workout was strict Cindy.
Oh, Jesus.
And he explained the workout to me and what it was supposed to feel like and how fast I was supposed to go and all of this stuff. And he said, 3, 2, 1, go. I'm going real fast. And I look over and I'm going like half the speed he is. I'm like, okay, I'm doing this wrong. And then, so eventually we were doing CrossFit as our strength and conditioning for MMA. And then he got affiliated in the mixed martial arts gym there, and we built out a separate area. I started shadowing him and helping him out with classes and things when we were busy, and helping the fighters understand what movements he was getting them to do. Me and him were obviously training day in, day out with mixed martial arts and CrossFit. And then after that, there was some noise complaints in that location, which I'm sure every CrossFit gym's had at some point.
Yeah.
And after some back and forth with the neighbors, it was decided that CrossFit couldn't go on there with the dropping of the bars and that sort of stuff. So he ended up moving out of that location and into a different gym. And then I kind of agreed that I would go and help him move and help him set up. And then eventually it just got to the point where I didn't go back to MMA. I wanted to train CrossFit instead of MMA. I wanted to spend time in the CrossFit gym instead. And then I just started from that point, just soaking up as much information as I could. Decided that like, actually this coaching thing's pretty cool. I can help him run his gym. I can help these people get a bit fitter and stronger and improve their lifestyle and eating habits. And it just spiraled, really. I've got a bit of an obsessive personality, I think. And it just spiraled from there. That was back in 2011. And then I'm sure, as most people do, they start to get drinking the Kool-Aid and they get a little bit into it. And it was like, right, well, what's next? Now I've seen it and I've practiced it and I've started learning about it. And I went to a couple of competitions and saw that was going on. For those that can't see any video, I'm 5'5" and 65 kilos. So I'm never going to be the most competitive athlete. So at that point, I decided like, hey, I could be the guy that counts the reps for them, and I could kind of help grow the sport and in that way, and see what we can do for CrossFit in the UK. So my first judging gig was London Throwdown, where I think Andrea Ager was there, Sam Briggs was there, a few of the early adopters there. And that was it, really. That was the first intro into judging. And from that, I kind of just judged every weekend. I just shadowed and soaked up as much information as I could. And then I started taking bits of the warm-up and started coaching people in the classes and alongside. Then I was given my own class and basically just nagged Craig every single day. Hey, mate, shall I get up at 6 a.m.? You can stay in bed. I'll get up at 6 a.m. You stay there. I'll go and do this. And just kind of mopped the floors whenever he needed help with that sort of thing. And then just grew from there.
Well, that's what you need to do, innit, man? You got to fucking start from the bottom. And I was having a conversation with a good mate of mine recently. It was just like, mate, you need to say yes and just make yourself available like all the time. And like you said, even if it is just mopping the floor or cleaning toilets, you're there in the community. You know how to run the gym from the ground up. Like that's where you need to start. You need to earn your stripes, sort of thing.
And it comes from caring, you know. I didn't want any of those members to come in and see like that bit of mud on the floor that takes me 5 minutes to mop it up, or you know, I know it's a bit cliche now in CrossFit, but you know, you go into a dirty toilet. Like, I just didn't want people to deal with that. And if I could do something to help my friend's business, but also help them have a good experience, it was just natural to, all right, I'll just clean that. I'll move that there.
Mm.
Then in 2014, I was making a few changes in my life. I'd split up with my partner. A few things were happening, and I kind of was toying with the idea of coaching a little bit more often. And I was looking for a way to coach full time. And I kind of just said, well, my life's about to change, so I might as well really fuck it up. And then I paid my first affiliation fee for Tewkesbury. I lived in Gloucester at the time, for Tewkesbury, which is about 10 miles away. And then I went into that realm of it. So that was in February in 2014. I paid the affiliation. And then in August, we opened. So literally me and a couple of my friends painted the whole place and, you know, laid 40 mats and that weighed 20 kilos each, all that sort of good stuff. Drilled holes in the floor, hoping that the rig wouldn't fall over.
Yep.
And that was the start of the coaching journey. Not full-time. I had a full-time job at the time as well. But that was my first kind of opportunity to run a full day's worth of classes, 6 a.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. And that was in 2014. That was the kind of proper coaching start. I've gone through the shadowing and taken a few classes here and there, and that was me jumping in at the deep end.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes it's sink or swim sort of thing, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So how's it changed from then to now? Because it looks like an absolute booming gym now. But that's what, 6 years on now, 7 years on.
Nearly 7 years now. It has changed a lot. I mean, day one, we had 0 members. Literally, I think my mum turned up to the 6 a.m. class, and of course I didn't charge her. Yeah. So it was a tough kind of journey. We just opened up and saw what happened. I'm a terrible businessman. Like, I just want to train people. I just want to help improve their lives, and I just want to get them in and training. Even if they end up not training with us, my kind of mission is just to show people fitness. And if there's somebody better down the road, I say, listen, we're not for you, but you're going to love this thing down the road. And they're just like, what? And we kind of just stuck to that. We kind of run everything via our ethos and our values. Is we never let money make the decision. I should probably be way better off than I am. I'm broke, but very happy. And everyone keeps saying you should be earning more, but it's like we never let money make the decision, and we've always kind of stuck by it, and it's done us well. We've grown steadily every single month, minus a lockdown, but we've grown every single month we've been open, in and we've just stuck to our values. It's slow going, but we feel like if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, I could die happy knowing that I stuck to what I said I believed in, and that we looked after our small community, you know?
Yeah, but coaching's a lot of that, isn't it? You've got to be authentic when you're a coach. You can't really be the hypocrite at the front, because people just don't respect you and don't fucking give a shit.
Yeah, 100%. And we've got a few interns that have gone through our program, and we've got 2 at the minute, and that's like, we just try and instill that into them. Be authentic, care. I know you spoke to Carl Steadman, and I think he mentioned it on your podcast, but like, give a shit is like the main thing any coach should take. If you haven't got that, you haven't got anything. And yes, so we just stick to that. We know what our morals are: integrity, respect, humility, and hard work. And we just run everything through that system. And if it passes that test, we'll do it. And when we started it, like, I was a terrible coach. Like, I started way early, but you learn very fast. And it didn't really matter, because I cared about them and I was willing to learn. I've always studied a lot, read a lot, listened to podcasts, gone on courses, questioned everything, argued with people on the internet. And not because I thought I knew it all, but just to see if they knew something I didn't.
Yeah.
You know, just push them until there was like that nugget of information, like, oh, I didn't know that. Even if I'm wrong, I'm very happy to look like a fool and learn something from it.
What do you think? What do you think makes you be that way? Do you think it's because you kind of like going all in on one thing, or is it like just because you care so much about about coaching and people and that?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. It must be a personality thing. I'm so driven. I can never half-ass anything. It's like I'm either fully in or I'm not doing it. It's a waste of my time if we're not going to do it properly. And I know that's not correct, and other people will disagree. I know that it's not the correct way, but that is my way of thinking about it. Is like, for me personally, I'm either all in or all out.
It's so funny. Like, the more coaches I speak to and kind of ask that question, everyone's the same. Everyone's like, nah, I have to go balls deep, like, or I'm just out, or I'll just quit and go do something else.
And I feel like the job, it needs that. It needs a coach that's saying, I'm going to put coaching first. So you can't be an athlete first. You can be a good coach and an exceptional athlete, but to be the best coach I can be, I needed to make a decision that like coaching was my gig, you know. For years I was on personal programming and that sort of stuff, and then I really had to just swallow a humble pill and be like, why am I putting all this pressure of training on myself when I'm always just going to be fairly fit. I'm never going to be competitive, and I'm never going to make an impact or leave a legacy from doing that. You know, other people in our community make huge impacts from being the best athlete they can be, and they should go down that path. But for me, it was like, I need to just focus on coaching. Training's the fun bit. Obviously, I need to be fit, but that was like a commitment I needed to make. It took me years to get to that point, and luckily the people in my team and the interns in my team now, they make that decision a lot quicker than me, and they get fantastic very quickly because of it.
And that's the beauty of being able to be a role model, I guess, because you can say, hey, this is all the things that I fucked up on. Make sure you learn my lesson without having to make the mistake. And then they're already like 5 years down the line a lot quicker. You know what I mean? But now you touched on something that's really interesting about that coach versus athlete and being that one person. Do you genuinely believe that you can be both?
You can be both. And there are some great coaches that are great athletes, but I like, how can I word this without sounding like an asshole?
Fucking sound what you want.
So basically, for me personally, if I'm going to do it, I want to be the best I can be at it. I want to reach my full potential. And I believe to be the best athlete you can be, to reach your full potential, that takes all of your commitment and time. You need to make sure you've done everything you can in your realm. And the same with coaching. To be the best coach you can be, instead of doing that extra piece of training, that's the time that you should pick up the book or listen to that podcast or question something. So for me, the athlete coach thing, it just depends on where you want to take it. Personally, I think if somebody's going to coach and be stood at the front of a class with paying members that have trusted them, invested their money in them, that comes with a level of responsibility. And I know a load of people have touched on it as well, but it does come with a level of responsibility that I've said to them, I'm going to do everything in my power to help them and to give them the best service possible. So if there's one cue, if I can spend 3 hours studying and it helps one person do one movement better, then it's worth my time.
Yeah.
That is my job, is to seek that one thing that helps Margaret squat a little bit better, or
can't agree more.
Gets rid of her knee pain,
Yeah.
That's our job. Our job is to seek that information out and then educate ourselves in a way that we can transmit that information to anybody.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, we're not saying that you can't be a great coach and a great athlete. Like, it takes a lot, but you can do it. But in my eyes, to reach that top of the pyramid, you have to put your chips in one of the baskets. You can't go.
Yeah, and it betters your chances as well. If I'm just trying to become the best coach I can be, I've got a much better chance of doing that if I'm only focusing on that. If I'm dividing my attention, then it's gonna maybe take longer, or it's just gonna be harder. It's just not gonna happen. It's gonna be easier to just focus on being the best I can be in one realm.
It's difficult though, right? Because a lot of coaches think that you know, especially when you have a mixed ability group in front of you, and you do get those people that come in that are pretty fucking fit and like, you
Yeah,
know, are pushing the boundaries, and you're just like, oh well, they're like smashing my time by 3 minutes, or they've got an extra 40 kilos on their back squat or whatever, and it's a bit difficult. Like some coaches do end up getting a little bit jealous and egotistic in that way. So
yeah.
what would you say regarding that?
The coach being jealous of the athlete.
Yeah, and kind of being a little bit, I don't know, pushed back by it.
I mean, it depends, because they've probably not got the potential to ever beat that athlete. You know, like we all have our potential. I could quit all my jobs, win the lottery, and just spend all my time training with the most perfect training program in the world, with the best recovery. If I did everything 101% correct, I would still be nowhere near as fit as, you know, half of the people that are competing out there. You know, it would, my potential isn't there. I've not got that capacity within me, whether it's genetics. I've definitely got the mental ability to go there, but my body and my ability just would never ever get to that level. So if that coach hasn't got that, that's just like a hard conversation they have to have with themselves, like a bitter pill to swallow, and just say like, yeah, like I'm never going to be better than that guy. And really, our job isn't to be better than to be the best athlete in the gym. If we're the best athlete in the gym, we haven't done our job right. Because our job is to find those guys that have that full potential and just max it out.
Max it out, exactly. Yeah, that's a really good point. Our job is to not be the best athlete in the gym.
If I'm beating everybody in the gym, I haven't taken, and they've got more potential than I have, I haven't done my job properly. I should be taking them to levels way better than me.
100%.
Maybe my squat looks better than theirs, but that's probably because I've spent more time practicing my demo than they have. You know, but they you know, there are people in your gyms that should be fitter, stronger, faster than the coaches, for sure.
For sure.
But the coaches should be decent. Like, you should be top 10 on your leaderboard.
Yeah,
not that it overly matters, but you should be in good shape.
You have to be able to do it, right? You have to be able to demonstrate.
Walk the walk. I mean, and it means a lot to members. You know, like we follow our programming. Again, that's something else that took me years to understand. We still, obviously, Ben Bergeron pushed that for ages, and I never really understood it for a while. Of like, doesn't mean I don't care if I don't do my programming. And the more I kind of argued with that statement, and the more it got in my head, it was like, well, if I do think that this is the best program to get people fit, which I do, that's why we wrote it for them, then why aren't I doing it? Because I want to be my fittest too, right?
Yeah.
And it just took me a while to kind of get my head around it. So now we jump into classes, we follow along to our own program, and it does mean a lot to the members when your name's on the board with them.
I think doing the class with them, rather than like, oh yeah, I did it like 2:00, you know what I mean, before I coached, or after the dinner time class or whatever. I think doing it during the class, and them kind of being able to look around and seeing you dying as well as them, would be like, oh, okay, like I respect the shit out of this bloke or this lady, because they're willing to get in the arena and throw punches too.
Yeah, definitely that. And we don't do as many classes as we should, and it's something that a lot of us in the team have written as our New Year's resolutions, was like, let's try and do more classes. You know, it gets busy in the gym and we just squeeze the wad in between sessions and stuff. But just like you said, it does make a big difference. Even for us being in the class with them, it does make a difference. I get nervous because it's like, oh no, they're all going to look, but like, that's a good thing. It's good to be nervous and out of your comfort zone. And I get I think about how I'm moving a bit more. So sometimes I might sacrifice a little bit of techers to try and go higher up the board and let that ego creep in. But when I'm in a class, it goes the other way. I want to, even if I'm not the quickest, I want them to turn to their mate and say like, oh, fair play. He always moans at me about driving my knees out. Yet when I looked over, his knees were perfect. You know, like that credibility means more to me than being higher up the whiteboard.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So, sign language.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to me.
Well, it just comes back to that piece earlier from like, if I've learned everything or as much as I can, I'm always seeking out the information. I want to be able to communicate it to as many people as possible. And then so I've had two ear surgeries in my life. I had a condition that was eating away at my hearing bones. And then they did some surgery, cleaned out the condition, put some artificial hearing bones in, and then they go in a year later and just check that everything's hunky-dory. But every time they did the surgery, they say you could wake up deaf. So for that immediate quarter after the operation, when I've woken up and I can hear still, like, I always say, yeah, I'm going to make a difference. Like, imagine if I'd woken up deaf, imagine how my life would change. And I always swore that I would do something with that kind of realization. And I never did. And then it kept playing on my mind that I didn't fulfill what I said I was going to do. Very much, I'm one of those people, if I say I'm going to do it, you can count on me to do it. And it was just eating away at me that I kind of said this and I didn't do it. And then the more I thought about it was, imagine you're deaf and you're in a CrossFit gym and the coach is at the board, and we know how, like, we turn to the board and then we turn to somebody else, and then it's like, well, that's going to be difficult to lip read. And then we shout a cue across the room, and it's like, if you're deaf, you don't know that he said that. You don't know how long's left on the ward. Your heart rate's 160. You can't really lip read what he's saying anyway. And I was just like, there's got to be a better experience for people. There's got to be a better way of communicating. My job is in people, really. It is in fitness and everything, but our roles are like working with people. And that's one population of people I can't work with. And we should be able to, if I want to impact the most lives possible. So then I said, right, I'm going to learn sign language and see what we can do with it. And I'd love to get a program out there for people that are deaf or hard of hearing that can follow along with us, and just have a whiteboard brief in sign, one that they don't have to lip read, and one that they do understand what the movements are and what they're supposed to do. I've spoken to a few deaf people and a few hard of hearing people on social media. Obviously, with my videos going up, I've had a few messages, and they've just said, like, it's crazy the struggles they face inside a normal class. Even just a coach like talking behind them and not realizing that I can't see your lips from there. So
100%, man. Like, how many times do you move your head, because obviously you're watching one athlete or two athletes, but you're giving a cue to someone else because you've just seen that, and you're like, all right, John, and then you move your head and you're still communicating, but you're watching something at the same time.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, we're pretty good. Like, if we're given a verbal cue, we always make sure to get their eye contact anyway before we deliver it, and especially if it's a visual cue. But so we're pretty good at making sure we're in front of the athlete and all of that. But it's like, even then, imagine you're like halfway through Fran.
Yeah.
And somebody's trying to tell you something. Like, I'm very direct with my cues normally. It's like body part direction. Like, imagine you're doing Fran and somebody's trying to tell you something. Instead, you can just flash a couple signs that they know, because it's their normal language. It's going to be so much better.
And especially, like, if you are hearing impaired or you have a hearing aid in, you usually pick up a lot of white noise.
Yeah.
So for example, I got an athlete who's hearing impaired, and when she's got her hearing aids in, like, she'll pick up the cars on the street, but she won't be able to pick up what I'm saying sometimes. Yeah. Especially if like a lorry goes past or someone just revs down the street or whatever. So we'll just have to sign a little bit. And like, CrossFit gyms are notorious for being absolutely mental, especially especially during like a fire breathing WOD like Fran, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if we're like
dropping, the music's pumping.
Fuck yeah, mate. Like, someone's blasting out like, I don't know, AC/DC or some shit. Like, they're gonna have no idea what you're saying. Even if they are looking at your lips, they'll be like, nah, no understand.
Yeah. And like, obviously me and you are learning the full language, and my goal with that is to run a whole program, or maybe even it would be excellent to be involved in getting more deaf people to do the seminars, you know? Yeah. So I'd like to learn the full language and see if we can translate it that way. But even if just coaches learn a handful of things, common cues they might use or something like that, that's going to make such a world of difference.
Well, how many times are we like role models to people in the class and the members, right? And they're also role models to not only us, but themselves and everyone else around them. But then they'll take the knowledge that we've teach them and take it outside of the gym, right? So if everyone knows like, hello, how are you? And knows like, where's the toilet or shit like that in sign, like real basic stuff, which isn't necessarily hard to learn. It's just practice. That's all it is. Then they can then no longer alienate people when they leave the gym. You know what I mean? They might go to their like corporate business or whatever, and someone struggles hearing or whatever, and you just like, you give them a little sign and they understand, and they're no longer alienated in life then.
Yeah. It's surprising that it's not more common anywhere. Even in school, we all learn Spanish and French, and none of us remember it anyway. But how useful would sign be instead in schools?
It'd be, like, I think I got 2 goals with it, right? I've got 3 goals with it. One, I want to coach a class purely in sign.
Yeah.
2, I want to try and get a unit of sign language within a coaching qualification.
Yeah.
Like we just said, like you learn the real basic stuff.
Yeah. Even down to hello, how are you? Imagine how nice that is for everybody in your gym to ask you that.
Yeah. You're just like, oh wow, like I'm no longer on my own or in my own head,
Yeah.
And then 3 would be awesome, like you said, to get it in schools.
Yeah.
Teaching kids at a young age, like I was speaking my athlete page, and she's just like, it's easier to teach kids sign language than it is to teach them like grammar. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I still don't really get grammar. I left college and didn't know what a verb was. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's a problem there. But if you would have coached me some sign, I probably would have been able to like remember a little bit.
Exactly. And I just feel like it's more useful. It's more useful.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So like, how often are you practicing it at the moment? Are you doing it every day?
I'm spinning a lot of plates at the minute in this lockdown. I'm spinning a lot of plates. So we're doing our Zoom classes. I'm doing the precision nutrition course as well.
Oh, wow.
We're doing the flow state on demand.
Yeah.
I'm in a study group for some level 3 guys. I've already got my level 3, but for me, it was just really, I just wanted to see if I could be of assistance in the group anywhere. And also, it's just a chance to relearn everything and pick up anything that I might have missed. And then I'm looking to put on a National CrossFit Kids classes next week. A bit like Joe Witt's PE, but something that we can get behind a little bit more. And then trying to learn sign as well. So I'm just kind of at the minute picking a day or 2 to pick some new words or phrases, and then just trying to hammer those all week. And at the end of the week, I just check that they're in. So this week was that who, what, why, where, when. And then every day I just make sure, right, I've got who, what, where, where. And then I'll get the missus to randomly ask me anything off all of the other videos just to make sure that I've still got them. So slowly the vocabulary is getting bigger.
For sure.
Next week I'm doing a course. It's a 6-week course. There's a girl locally to me called Beth that's really helped me out. Every time I get a question, I just annoy her with it. She's a translator from hearing to sign as well. So I just annoy her with all these questions. She was like, Luke, there's a Zoom course where somebody will be your tutor. They'll sign to you and you can sign back and ask loads of questions. So for the small price, it's going to be great to do that. So I'm going to do that once a week as well, starting next week.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Like, I'm a practical bloke, so I mean, learning on the old computer and that really doesn't sink in my head. So I keep meaning to go sign up to go to a classroom, like a night school sort of thing, and go do some sign. But yeah, like I said,
I'm pretty thick. Me and you teach fitness, so it'd be nice to have a teacher say like, this is what you need to be learning. This is how you learn it. This is a trick to help you remember it. And like, it'd be good to have some direction with that.
Oh, 100%, mate. Like, fuck me. I could not go back to school now. Like, I struggle with it, man.
I like studying now because it's a subject that we like, like now that I found I enjoy coaching, it's easy for me to like dig into things, but even still I don't always want to read. I'm a terrible reader. I'm a slow reader. So I like to watch. I even watch a lot of podcasts. I don't know why I prefer to watch the video version on YouTube. It just seems to sink in better with me when I see the videos than the audio.
It's a bit more
But now
stimulating, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I love studying now. It's like in school, I guess it was just stuff we didn't really want to know, or we didn't understand the importance of it. Whereas now we understand why we're learning that subject or that piece or reading that article or whatever it is. So, but yeah, I couldn't go back to school and be forced to try and learn something I didn't want to learn.
That touches on like a pretty, I don't know, political, systematic problem, I guess, of like we're supposed to understand what we want to do at like 18.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm like, well, you don't know how the fucking world works for a start. So how are you going to know what you want to do for the rest of your life? Like, I would literally say, like, piss off, go work some absolute garbage job. You know what I mean? Like, go pick litter for a living for like 5 years and then come back and be like, okay, I no longer want to do that. Let's study a little bit and then go back to school. Did you study?
It's funny because I worked that. I didn't study, so I went to college after GCSEs. I did a media diploma, which actually in lockdown has been pretty good. Now I've been filming all of these on-demand videos, but apart from recently, I've never used that thing whatsoever. Which was a great 2 years of college, but I literally went straight from college into like an office job, a 9 to 5. Absolutely hated it. And if I'm being honest, I would have hated my life back then. Looking back on it now, like I was not a happy person. And I kind of climbed through the ranks at my office job, and I ended up being a regional manager, ended up being assigned an area in London, and obviously all the perks that come with that sort of stuff. And then eventually would have been 2017. They put a redundancy notice into the team. They were trying to get rid of a guy. I'm sure that's what they were doing. And I took the voluntary redundancy, and they were like, no, you don't need to do that. You'll probably be okay. You'll get through this. And I was like, that's okay. You're going to pay me X amount of wages to leave. That gives me, and in the end, it was 6 months wages. And I said to myself, I've got 6 months now to build enough of a revenue at the gym to pay me however much I need to live. And I did the maths on it. And then I went after it. I was like, right, 6 months. I need this many members to pay my wages. And off we went. So that's when 2014 I opened the gym. And then 2017 is when I went full time. And since doing that, my whole outlook on life and how we should be living life changed. And like you said, from school, this because nobody knows what they want to do. So we leave school at 16 or 18, or leave education at 18 or 21. And we still don't know. So we just get something that pays us. And then we get used to the money. And of course, everybody likes money. And there's a lot of value placed on money, excuse the pun, but a lot of value placed on money in our society. And now whenever people ask me, I'm like, be broke, but be happy. Leave that job and chase whatever it is that really sets your soul on fire, and you will not regret it. Even if it doesn't pay you for a while, you'll figure it out.
You do. You end up figuring it out, mate.
Everybody always figures it out. You know, everyone says, oh, they're not gonna have a child until this and this happens, and then, you know, something happens, they end up having a child early. Everybody's fine. You'll always figure it out. And like, I just, if anybody takes anything away from ever meeting me or listening to this podcast, is chase your dreams. Whatever that one thing is that would make you happy, even if money was abolished tomorrow, no more money, what would you do with your day? Do that thing for a living.
Yeah. I mean, I had a
Find
conversation
it, get good at it.
Yeah, 100%. Just fucking throw yourself in at the deep end, and when you give yourself no option to fail, you know what I mean? Like I picture like my back being against the wall.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I can't go backwards, you know what I mean? So you have to figure it out. I'm more of a visual bloke, though. I have to fucking visualize. Like I said, not
What's this conversation you had with your friend?
Oh yeah. He was just like, so I don't know what to do. Like, I might go back to school and start studying like our profession, our trade. And I'm like, all right, like if you never got paid for this job, the studying and blah 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 and coaching,
Yeah.
would you still do it? And he kind of looks away, thinks about it, looks back to me and goes, yeah, I would, yeah. I'm like, well, there you go. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, and the proof is in the pudding. So I owned a gym for 3 years and never took a wage. Every penny we ever made at the gym, I reinvested. It took a while for us to even make some money. Started with zero, so it took us a few months to break even and all of that. And it was like, I literally, when I say to people like, I would do this if it didn't pay me, I literally did, you know. and even now, if people name me the best coaches in the business, the best coaches in CrossFit, there's a few that are on my mind. I won't name too many in case I forget people and they get angry. But like, there's plenty of coaches that are high up in our field that do so much for free just to try and help the industry and help people. Even that study group that I mentioned for the level 3 guys, it's headed up by Carl, and he's doing that out of his own time to help those people. If money wasn't a thing, or if it didn't pay him, he'd still do it. And that's that is what a coach is. That's it's the vocation. We'd still do it.
100%. Like, it goes back to that caring, right? You have to care. You have to be that the lad or lady or with the massive heart and just be like, hey, I'm going to put whatever the fuck I need to in front first.
Yeah.
And then everything else comes secondary. So,
and it's all through our industry. Everybody that looks glamorous they're still doing that. The ones that are really good are still doing it. Even today, Ollie Mansbridge, Rob Lawson, just a little 15-minute chat that they had on Instagram, that'll help some people. They didn't need to do that. They didn't get paid to do it. Nobody asked them to do it. But it's just something that might just help that one person, and they're right at the top of their game and still doing that stuff. And that comes back to that integrity.
Yeah, and that comes from all those hours of studying, of extra learning, of different sort of levels of learning, whether it's a podcast, reading, whatever, practicing. That all comes from that to give that 15-minute talk.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's from that like you said, from the studying and trying to be better and just having that full game. I always say to interns or new coaches, there is no destination of coach, really. It's always a journey. So your level 1 isn't when you can finish, and that the level 1 is one of the best things you can do, but that isn't the finished product. The level 1 is your ticket onto the bus. And when you get on the bus starts to drive down the road, and now your journey begins. And on that journey, you start to look out the window and you're starting to experience things, and you see things and you say, what's that over there? And somebody explains it to you, and now you know what it is. So the journey is what's important. The level 1 is your ticket onto the bus, but you can never stop learning. There's no finished product on that. It's not like, I've got my level 1, I can just stay where I am. You're going to be stagnant and not going to help as many people as you can. And that's what you sign up to be a coach, is to be the best and to give them your best.
So what's your number 1 or like top 3 things you would give to someone that wants to get into coaching, or is like an amateur coach, I guess, and wants to just pursue that craft?
It's a tough question, isn't it?
It is.
It is a tough question.
You want to give them everything.
Be more relentless. And I mean that in the sense of kind of like, when you're queuing people, be relentless. Like, yeah, it looks better, but is them, or I see a lot of videos on social media and they're filming it and they're saying, oh, look at Jerry, and he's put this above his head. And it's like, well, there's 2 or 3 faults there that you could have been helping him with. And I hope after the video they did, but instead they're holding their phone. So like, put your phone down and be relentless and just get queuing. Be relentless in ask them to go another mil. That 1 millimeter, just rather than like, oh, it's okay. Oh, in my world, good enough isn't good enough. It needs to be relentless, We also see the queue perfect. It's not perfect. Nobody ever does a perfect movement. Be relentless. Tell them it wasn't perfect. Tell them it was good or better, but don't tell them it was perfect, because it wasn't. Be relentless. Be honest with them, and be relentless with your honesty. And anything you do with them, just keep hammering that home, and then they'll respect you for it. You'll end up doing a better job because of it. It's not awkward. That's what they've paid you for. They've paid you to look as closely and as best as you can at them. So number one, be relentless. Be relentless. Studying, helping, learning, mop the floor, whatever you need to do. Be relentless in chasing that goal if it is your dream. And if it's not their dream, you'll soon realize, because they won't be relentless. Number two, like we said it earlier, care, give a shit. You have to give a shit. If you don't, like, yeah, Carl said it, everybody said it. Be relentless. And then the last one for me is integrity. Do the right thing for the right reasons, for the right people. Whether it pays you, whether it takes an hour out of your day, whatever it is, if it's the right thing to do, whether you get any credit for it, half the things coaches do, nobody knows happens. Or the great coaches anyway. You know, that lesson plan behind the scenes, or when somebody came in and all the Rogue logos on the wall balls were lined up nice. Just little things like that nobody knows happens. Cleaning the toilet. We got our intern cleans the toilet every week, twice a week, 3 times a week. Nobody knows how many times, but it's always clean when they go in there.
Yep. It's they don't notice it when you do it, but they will notice it if you don't.
Yeah, fair. Yeah. So yeah, just integrity is a big one. So, and that can go with anything. With your coaching, don't say anything horrible behind somebody's back. Have integrity about it. Say it to them if you're going to say it.
That's a completely
and then
different
I guess
topic.
If I'm allowed a fourth one, feedback as well. But for me, that comes into integrity. So part of having integrity is asking for feedback and giving feedback. Mm-hmm. And then not being upset or crying when you take some feedback. That's a difficult skill to learn, is taking feedback. But as long as you know why you're doing it, and you know you're doing it for the right reasons, then feedback is invaluable.
In terms of the industry, and in terms of, like, CrossFit is now taken, obviously, with all that bullshit with the knobhead. We're not gonna speak about that, but it's now taken. I think it's going to start striving forward. You know what I mean? Especially coming out of the ass end of the pandemic. Fingers crossed, and everything kind of revs up again. Like, where do you want to see it go? Where do you want to help contribute for it to go towards? What's, like you mentioned about that CrossFit Kids. And going into the youth side, which I absolutely love. That shit sets my soul on fire.
It's good, isn't it,
mate? The kids is something else, mate. If I had to choose, only coaching adults or kids, it is, man. It is.
Even down to one rule we always had was bring your kids. We had this little room. People always would say to me, "I'll get rid of the room. We'll have more room in the gym." And it's like, no, it's helpful for mums to be able to leave their kids in there and train and that sort of stuff. I'm sure there was a whole host of health and safety problems that I probably should have. But hey, we got through it. All right, we got through it. But what we're finding now is all of their kids that came there and hung out there whilst the parents were training, not anymore since the lockdowns and COVID and that, but the kids want to train. They want to exercise. They ask about healthy food. They ask about, hey, when are you going to CrossFit today? And what I'm hoping is in 10 years time, when they're going away to uni, it is something that's instilled in them. Like, oh, I should probably exercise this week. My mum always did. You know, when I was growing up, we never were told about exercise. We were never told about food. I never saw my parents exercising at all. My mum does now, but it was just never on our radar. I didn't even realize that was the thing I was supposed to do. You know, so I got to 18, 19, 20, and I was overweight and unfit, not in a good place. That's when I found MMA, but it was just never something in our lives. And I'm hoping that these young children now are just going to have exceptional lives. They're just going to live it to the fullest, just from fitness and loving everything about fitness that we all do listening to this.
I mean, we have to, right? Because everything's going virtual. Everything's going on your PS45 or your
Yeah,
Netflix or some shit. Which is, there's nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Like, give them the creativity and the time to connect with people, and allow them to play some video games, whatever. But like,
yeah,
have they actually like got off their ass today and gone seen their mates? Like, I remember being a kid and I was never in.
yeah,
Like, it was gone dark, and then instead of playing footy on the park, we'd kick the football under a street light,
yeah.
and we're
And it's
still
health
out.
as well. Health of our nation. The more we can instill that into the next generation, the healthier we're all going to be. My grandkids, their kids, and their kids, and their kids. The healthier our whole family tree is going to be off the back of it.
I think the tide of the fitness industry is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, mate. Like, it's the one of the few industries that will never die. Like, there's always going to be people
Yeah.
that need training.
Well, where it's going as well, like answering your question from earlier, was like what I'm hoping is it's just getting more professional.
Yeah.
There's more data, more evidence. I read in Dr. John Berardi's book, The Changemaker, that this is such an early industry. I think it was 1978 was when recreational exercise sort of existed for the first time. And it's like, that's a super early industry. All the questions that me and my team speak about, as a friend of mine, AJ, me and him argue, let's say debate, we argue all the time about topics that we won't know the answers to for a good 1,000 years, because it needs to go through evolution and it needs to be tried and tested and papers reviewed, and it says it much more beautifully than I can speak in the book. But the books was a mind opener for me, where it said, like, we're such an early industry. Fitness is early. And then when you tag CrossFit onto that, it's even earlier. So there's questions we're asking now that we'll never know the answers to, but as long as we're asking those questions, they'll eventually get answered. And that's the way the industry has to go. And conversations like we've had today of pushing the professionalism and getting coaches to understand what we think makes up a great coach will only ever just help the next generation of coaches and the next generation of coaches. We've got an intern coming on who's 16.
Oh, that's awesome.
Think, wow. In 5 years, I mean, he's been CrossFitting with us since he was 14. Great little athlete. He's pretty much stronger than me now. If he pulled his finger out, he'd be fitter than me. Sorry, Miles, listening to this. but he's a great lad, 16 years old, and just think, I've been doing this nearly 10 years. So when he's been doing it 10 years, he's only going to be 26. He has 40, 50 years in this industry. He's going to be phenomenal.
Like you said, like you need to push boundaries and ask all those questions and have those debates, and you know what I mean? And if they start doing it at 16 years of age, like, you're going to be so much more knowledgeable in life, regardless of, training.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, we taught him the squat series a few months back, and then I said, hey, do you want to teach this section of the class? And he's teaching people squats, and it's like, he's coaching beautifully now at 16. It's going to be mad. Even in 5 years, 21, it's going to be sensational.
Yeah.
And hopefully soon we have an industry of like very well educated, very well experienced, young, healthy, athletic people that can make a huge impact on the world. As cliche as that sounds.
Well,
sounds like a Hollywood movie, this, but
it sounds like we're dreamers, mate.
That's, if we can have a small part in that, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. There's got to be some revolutionaries, and I'm not trying to put us on a pedestal like fucking all those other crazy revolutionaries across history. But I mean, there's got to be some people that ask those questions and start having those debates and be like, hey, why don't we try this? Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't.
And more interestingly, like when I started coaching, the goal was to coach full time. I opened an affiliate because I wanted to coach full time. And then as I've kind of gone through the journey, now it's like, okay, actually, I want to coach coaches now, and I want to help them help people. So initially it was like, right, I want to help as many people as I can, and I want to have an impact on their lifestyles and make them live longer. And it's like, well, actually, let's coach the coaches so they can do that well. And I started to form opinions on what I think a coach should look like and how I think a coach should act, and not necessarily like this is how you teach a thruster. You know, like we can teach anybody how to do these movements and teach movements, but really like how a coach should be and how to coach people. And if we can start passing that on, it's going to be incredible.
So what is something that you like to drive home when you start coaching coaches? Because that is a completely different conversation.
It is a different one, and I'll always kind of offer out different courses to them as well that I think will help them. So the Bird Box course, anybody listening, you need to get on the Bird Box course. Anybody that wants to be a good coach, you know, it's no longer make sure you squat below parallel and your knees are tracking toes. You know, obviously we need to know that, but it is absolutely just oh my Siri's going. It's transformational. Sorry, Siri. It's transformational for coaches to just understand how to connect with people and what a coach is supposed to act like, even down to ethics and professionalism. And yeah, so with coaching coaches, we just go back to the four things earlier about feedback, integrity, care, being relentless, and then it's just a trade-off of experience and skill. You know, like on our internship program, they don't do their level 1 for 18 months. And when they go there, we know they're going to pass it. But in reality, I want them to take that information from the level 1 and already have a base knowledge of how to coach. Because coaching isn't reading the whiteboard, not really. And you know, it's how to communicate with the people. It's even down to like confidence. We have a little saying in our gym called Q slinging. I expect the coach to be walking down and I want you to enjoy it. You're like, it's the Wild West. I want you Q slinging. I want you shooting out those cues left, right, and center and seeing what works and seeing if you can improve people's technique or times or fitness or experience. Even down to like how a coach should question or speak to members to try and find out information about how their day's been. And then they can find out how the session might go for them. Just little things that could tweak the service delivered.
Yeah.
That doesn't normally get spoken about anywhere, really.
Exactly. And then you need that time before and after a class to communicate to your members to figure out. And you can tell by the vibe of someone, right? As soon as they walk through that shut door, you're like, they've had a shitter of a day.
Yeah.
Or even if they
then you need to figure out like, right, they've had a shit day. Do I need to push them into a dark place so they can feel better?
Yeah.
Do you know those ones where you have a little cry mid-ward, but actually you feel great afterwards because it hammered you? Or is it actually you just need to kind of reassure them and be a friend that day? Be like, hey, just sweat. We have a big thing in our gym where it's like, on those days, I don't care what weight's on the bar. I don't care how fast you go. You know, come in and sweat. It's better than sitting on the sofa at home.
Just a moving day.
Exactly that. And you don't know that unless, like you just said, like unless you're speaking to them and finding out about them, and unless you know what they do for a living for a start. Is he just coming from 8 hours of laboring? You might feel a bit differently.
Yeah. Fuck me. Yeah, 100%. Like learning your members is really important, and not obviously being intrusive and be like, hey, tell me everything about you. You know what I mean? You've got to earn that trust, and that goes back to the integrity, that goes back to caring, that goes back to leading by example, leadership, and all that.
And being authentic as well. You know, if you actually genuinely are authentic with what you give to them as well, like they should know about us. You know, they should know about our lives, and if we're having a hard time, it's okay to kind of let them in on that and show that we're human too, and that builds trust with them as well. It's a two-way street.
I think one of the most powerful things you can do as a coach is stand at the front, at the before a class and be like, "Hey guys, just to let you know, I'm having a right shitter of a day." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just be like, "No worry, no need to worry about it. We've got an hour now. We're gonna have an absolute banging time. Just to let you know, if I seem a little bit off, it's not you."
And do you know what? That's so true. There's been days where I've tried to mask that, the fake smile, and like,
yeah.
People know something's up. And equally, normally I'll go into, even if I'm in a bad mood, I'll go into a class and I'm buzzing by the end of it anyway.
Yeah.
What we do for them, they do for us for sure.
Yeah. We have, I always say all the time, like they got one source of, well, they can learn from each other, of course, but they're mainly learning from us, right? So they've got
Yeah.
one source of knowledge to learn from. We have like 12, 10, 16,
Yeah.
28, whatever. You know what I mean? Like we can learn from all these different people, all these different jobs. And like you said, you finish your class and you're bouncing off the fucking walls, man.
Yeah, honest. And even through Zoom, we've been working really hard to make sure we've still got presence and attitude. And like some days it's been an absolute vibe. I've just been skanking behind the camera and having a good time and just trying to get that energy through the screen, and then it's coming back. It's been really good. Really good.
How has been running the affiliate through Zoom been going, lad?
I mean, the March initial lockdown was initially it was different. So it was like, it was interesting and it was new. And then towards the end of lockdown, people were getting a bit sick of Zoom. And then the November lockdown, there was just a different vibe. People didn't want to go back onto it. And then with this lockdown that happened, I don't know what we did differently, but we very early on said, look, we've got a plan in place in case he locks us down. And the program is absolutely wonderful. It's really fun, actually. And then, so when we went into this one, everyone was buzzing. And that just kind of helped us with, like I said a minute ago, that presence and attitude was like, we know they're looking forward to the session. So we come with a different energy, and then that brings up their energy. And then the WOD's good, the exercise, the training's good, the banter's good with everybody. And then it makes them just log in the next day. So actually it's been, this time around, it's been really fun, really good positive vibes. I mean, Zoom as a model, I absolutely hate it. We call it coaching, but like, there's been times when I've nailed that. I really like, I've coached my ass off there. And then I go onto Instagram and somebody's had a second camera from the side and they're in their toes on an air squat. And I'm like, I've done a shocking job there. Yeah. And it's just, I couldn't see it, in 1,000 years. There's no way I'd ever see that from that camera angle. And like, you just kind of have to do your best. But that's where the other areas, like, so let's just say that seeing and correcting probably aren't going to be too great through Zoom. So now we have to kind of amplify the other 4 areas from our teaching and coaching. So we can probably teach a little bit through Zoom, but it's going to be a bit crap. But let's make sure our demo's good, make sure our presence and attitude's good, and obviously group management through Zoom, and just making sure that everybody is on track to where they need to be or knows what the hell they're meant to be doing. I put it out on my Instagram the other day, just some tips for Zoom, just little communication tips and things like that to set people up to make sure that they can do the best job, because seeing and correcting is not happening very well on Zoom.
No, like you said, you can't see everything, but it's still trying to address everyone in that class, even if it's it's just like, oh, hey, Mary, good job, Jonathan, keep going.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like using the name. You mentioned using the name.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, name first to get their attention, then tell them what you want. They all pretend they can't hear you anyway.
Yeah. But we do the same when we're in a class.
Yeah, too right.
No, sorry, I couldn't hear you. Like, the music's a bit too loud.
Then they slope off camera, like, I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I mean, we always now we're used to Zoom and we know what to expect. We always use our lesson plans. Denise Thomas, very early on, I picked up on her, the DT lesson plans on Instagram. If you don't follow it. It's really good. And we lesson plan every single session that we ever program. And now we can build things in that are self-correcting, So maybe we can't coach or see and correct as much, but we can build things in where it will limit. So wall squats. What a great thing to chuck into the warm-up. It's self-teaching, self-correcting, and there's loads and loads of different drills that you could put in that will kind of force, I guess force is the wrong word, but force good technique or force learning out of people if you just plan it correctly.
Yeah, lesson plan is, I think, number one for me, especially because I've got the worst memory on the history of the planet. So I genuinely have to, like, I talk.
I'll take seconds.
All right, fair enough. But I'll go in and be like into an empty gym and coach the entire fucking class. Yeah. And I'd be like, if there's a fly on the wall situation, you would think I was psychotic, but I would have to do it because otherwise I'd trip up or, use some like inappropriate language or fucking whatever, and I'll be like, oh shit, like that was a bad class, you know what I mean? But like planning the lesson, whether it's mental rehearsal or writing it down, flipping the whiteboard so you've got like, I don't know, stick men or bloody an annotation or the different scale options, so in case someone throws a curveball question at you and you're like, oh fuck, I have no idea what to say. Yeah, it's important. It's probably number one.
And that could even come down to just having a quick look in the class and being like, oh, I know that Steve's had a little issue with his quad recently. Maybe I need to just have a couple backups in case he says it's hurting him on that today. You know, and just it's just that preparation. We always do. We always throw our interns in at the deep end. We let them have a wad, and we don't really tell them too much. And like we're always there as a backup because we know they're gonna be ill prepared. So we let them loose. They turn up at 4 minutes to the class.
Yeah.
and then we let them loose on it. And obviously we're there to make sure the members still get the quality of service they're supposed to have. And in the background, we've got everything ready, but it's like, hey, then we'll give them a nudge, like, you haven't written the board yet. And they go, like, oh, and they're probably going to have to put some kettlebells out, and they go and do that. And then it's like, you know, that drill, like, how are you going to get her to do that? Because she's got a broken arm. And we just kind of drop them in the deep end. And after that, they really understand, like, lesson planning is the one. Getting there 10, 15 minutes early, got to be done. Having a little look at who's in, got to be done.
It's funny, isn't it?
It's a bit harsh, but...
Nah, because, like, when we were in that position, we fucking hated it. And now you kind of like, you've earned your stripes, you kind of learned the ropes a little bit. Now you're putting other people in that position. Now you love it.
I mean, and it's true, like going back to your earlier question of like how my gym has changed. When I opened in 2014, like I was doing that stuff. I mean, I'm renowned now for turning up just on time to places, but I always try and get to the gym 10 minutes earlier. But when I started, like I was living such a hectic life, you know, a full-time job. I think I was working 50 hours a week in London, which was like 3 hours from my house. I was commuting to London and back every day. I was turning up to classes like 1 minute too, you know, and like I very quickly learned the value of having 10 minutes before a class and how important that is, you know. And then it was like how important a lesson plan is. Like, oh shit, like I should have put some forethought into it. So over the years, I've had to experience all of this stuff. That now we just teach. Yeah, we just teach it now. And it's like the next generation of coaches shouldn't really have to make the mistakes that I made. But sometimes we just throw them those little tests in just for our shits and gigs, really. a lesson hard learned, you know?
Yeah, but you need that like kind of like anxiety of like, oh shit, I fucked that class. All right, that warm-up was not good. Because then you will no longer do it again. Like, fuck me, I can imagine I've taken some shit. And in reality,
classes. the class is fine, isn't it, really? Yeah. Because, like, they're nice people, they're good people, and they care, you know, and they get through it. But like you say, the whole session, they have that feeling of, oh, my God, this is stressful, you know? And then it never happens again, which is perfect.
Yeah, and everyone knows, like, how... Yeah, everyone knows a class where it runs so smoothly and it's so well prepared, and the coach is just absolutely shit hot on it. Like everyone vibes off that, man.
Yeah. And it feels good. You know, today our lesson plan is really nice. I coached the 2 morning sessions. Somebody else is coaching the 2 sessions now whilst we chat. And he's just messaged me between classes like, wow, this flowed so smooth tonight. It feels great. And like, and it was just, I probably put an extra 5 or 10 minutes into the lesson plan. And I probably spared a few minutes here and there. And like, some of our lesson plans recently have been a little bit full, should we say. So this one we've really nailed today. I'm sure tomorrow we'll be back to being full again. But even he's noticed, the evening coach has noticed, like, yeah, this is bang on today. This is a vibe.
And sometimes you need to adapt it, innit? With from the morning to the evening, like they're completely different vibes.
Yeah, and that comes down to like music. It comes down to energy, who's in it. And it might even come down to, I've had so many classes where the 6 a.m.ers, the poor buggers, like I've run them through it and I'm like, oh man, that did not work. And I've changed it. And like, sometimes the evening guys will get a different or better service than the AM. We run a lesson plan exactly for the reason that all classes should have the same service. They should experience the same session. But sometimes we say like, that 10-minute warm-up made me 5 minutes late. It needs to be a 5-minute warm-up. So throughout the day you can tweak it. And then, so sometimes it does get a little bit different. The poor guys at 6 a.m. get the brunt of everything.
Yeah, but like sometimes it works in theory, but in practical you're like, oh my God, no.
And even down to, they're going to hate me for saying it, but I know my 6 a.m.ers don't chat as much as my 6 p.m.ers. My 6 p.m.ers are right chatterboxes. At 6 a.m. I can rattle through and be bang on time. 6 p.m. I'm like, well, you not shut up so I can do this. And you have to like argue with it. So, or sometimes you have to just like, do you know what? We're going to take 2 minutes off there and 2 minutes off there because I know they're going to chat shit in between these two pieces,
Yeah, 110%.
And that changed over the years as well, because we used to have much fuller classes. This is going to be a big debate, but the whole strength metcon debate. When we had the strength metcon, we were literally pushing people through things, and we never even had time to say like, yeah, chill, chat. Our 6 p.m.ers, they do love a little chat and a little bit of banter in between the pieces, or after the WOD. They like a little 5-minute sit down to just chat. And it's like, all right, now we've got space and time to put that in. Which
do you no longer do the strength metcon, the double workout thing?
It's a big debate, isn't it? We do sometimes, because that's, strength metcon and metcon strength, that's good variance. But strength metcon every day isn't variance. So no, I did my level 2 in 2017, and Wes said to everybody, who here has followed .com? And like 4 or 5 people put their hands up. And then, who here is program.com at their affiliate? And like 2 guys put their hands up. And I felt embarrassed. I was like, do you know what? We've never put .com in the affiliate. And then we had a little chat about, well, thing is, it's very popular in the UK, the strength metcon thing as well. So I sort of said, look, in the UK, every single box does strength metcon, especially back then. And I sort of said, like, this is how it works over in England, and this is why we do it. And he was like, how do you know? You've never done .com. And I was like, man, it's got me, and I'm a big fan of like, if I've got an opinion on something, it's because I've tried it and I've experimented with it and I've experienced it. So like last lockdown, I did keto for a month, and I've done carb cycling. And like, if I'm going to prescribe it or talk about it, I've tried and tested it myself. So I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's do .com for a month. So in January, we did December's .com. This is 2-3 years ago. And then I assessed their fitness. I assessed if people lost weight. I assessed if they enjoyed it and their recovery. And the results were phenomenal. We went from our strength metcon. Basically, we weren't a CrossFit gym. We were like, we were a conjugate lifting gym. We ran Westside Method, which I still love, and we still program strength that way, just in CrossFit. But we were a conjugate gym that occasionally did CrossFit WODs in the week. So I ran this .com format, and it blew my mind, man. It was sensational, and I just felt like an asshole for not actually delivering CrossFit for the last 3 years, even though it was over my door. So then we started programming the one a day, and the results are absolutely phenomenal.
It's the glorification of the games, though, isn't it? Like everyone, like a lot of people have come into CrossFit because they've seen the Netflix documentaries, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, that's so sick! I need to beat the shit out of myself every day."
Yeah,
and I'm like, no.
Yeah, too right. It should add, like we always say to people, like, "Oh, fitness adds to your life." If you've ever had DOMs, and all of us have, that doesn't add to your life. I can't go down the stairs. Bro, how is that helping my life?
Yeah.
If I had to climb out of a window now, I couldn't do it. Do you know, like, fitness should add to our lives. And like, don't get me wrong, there are times that you do need to send it and you do need to have DOMs, but yeah, the biggest thing, and like, if anybody is thinking of going .com style, the one a day, the biggest thing is we actually coach now. And I'm sure people, some coaches listening are going to get offended. Don't be offended, boys and girls. Honestly, I don't mean that you're not coaching people, but when we were doing strength metcom, it was like warming people up, instructing them what to do, pushing them into the next piece, instructing them on the next piece. Now we've got so much time to actually coach people.
Yeah.
There's drills and there's educational pieces, and we've got time to actually like, right, we're going to take you from that because you don't need to be kipping right now. You're going to do this over here, and like, oh, you're really good at that, so let's change this slightly so that you can do something that you're not so great at.
Mm-hmm.
We've got time to like to coach so much more.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of my job, it was 1,000 times more enjoyable. 1,000 times more enjoyable because I was coaching people again. And in terms of the members, the service went through the roof because they're being coached.
Yeah, and you kind of create like a little bit of individualized programming within a class structure because, like you said, you're like, hey, you are not moving that well today. We're going to go do this, or you're really good at that. I'm going to try and push you this way. You're going to go strict today because I know you're a gymnastic ninja.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it.
They,
the best coach that highlighted that to me was Coach Birdie. So if people struggle with that sort of thing, just drop him a DM and he'll help you with that. Like, he's so good at say figuring out how you can prescribe different things for different athletes within a group setting. Really good for that.
And it goes back to learning your members, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like
totally.
If you don't know your members, like they might, you know, we've all experienced one of those athletes that come in and they're just like, they're hurt. They're carrying some sort of niggle, but they won't tell you.
Of course.
And you can see because they're compensating. They don't usually compensate. They usually move pretty well. You know what I mean? We've done our jobs. They move pretty well. And then you look at them like, nah, this is a massive hip shift, or like they're not locking out on their left elbow. And it's like, what's going on here, sort of thing. And then you have to be able to adapt for that member in that hour.
Yeah. And that's the difference of instructing and coaching.
Yep.
And that's another sentence that took me a while to digest. And any coaches out there that don't quite understand it yet, just keep thinking about it, keep digesting that information, and it'll start to become clearer too. But like, we should be coaching and not instructing. Instructing is telling them what to do, and then coaching is telling them how and making it specific.
We teach the movement, but coach the individual.
Yeah.
And like
100%.
Too many times where like people get kind of roped into the fact of, oh, we got to read the board. I've got to say it word for word. I've got to blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nah. If you're coaching, you read the board by not looking at it.
Yeah.
Because you're reading the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Right, brother, what have you got on tonight? Are you coaching the late, or are you going to chill your beans?
No, I'm chilling. I've got a lay-in tomorrow as well. I did the 6 a.m. today. So I get a lay-in tomorrow, and I'll coach tomorrow evening.
Nice. And then do you do the following morning?
I will be on Wednesday, Wednesday morning.
How did you find that?
Somebody else. I mean, it's not the best planning I've ever done. I mean, I don't sleep much anyway. Anything 5 to 6 hours and I'm good to go pretty much. So it's okay for me, but I don't particularly like doing it to the other coaches. But so, that's just how my schedule rolls. And that Tuesday to Wednesday, that's always been my schedule for some reason. It's just how my life has panned out.
Like it's
I wish it wasn't.
Yeah. I feel that. Like, it's not ideal, but sometimes you got to do it one day a week. You need to work that longer shift. You need to do that fucking night then morning. Like, just bite the bullet, man.
And I like work in the morning. I know, like, quite often there's this thing of the new coaches should get the morning because it's hard to get up early. And I'm like, no, fuck that. I want to see the early people too. I'd hope there was never a time that if I was still coaching in the affiliate, I hope that I would coach every single time slot at some point in the week. I want to see everybody.
I think the evenings are harder, man, because of, like you said, everyone's rowdy. They like to banter. They'll throw a little bit at you. It's like, nah, if you want to throw them at the deep end, fucking put them in that, or put them in a team workout, like a partner one.
Yeah.
Jesus, manage those a lot. Good luck.
Yeah. It is true.
I won't eat into your chill time anymore. I really appreciate you coming on.
No probs. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
I know I learn a lot, and I know other people will learn a lot too. We'll keep signing away to each other.
Yeah. If anybody wants anything, they can catch us at Coach Shortz on Instagram. This is Flow State. We've got a group on. This is me plugging. Shameless.
Go for
Shameless.
it. So yeah, shameless. Do it.
During lockdown, we're giving away free workouts every single day. It's aimed really to try and get people that aren't actively into fitness at the minute into some form of exercise. So it's 15-minute workouts. It's Flow State On Demand. It's a group on Facebook. So if your neighbor has never done fitness and you're just a bit worried about them, just ping them the wad over, and it's accessible for everybody. And hopefully that will help a few people, give them something to look forward to, a reason to get dressed every day. I've got to get dressed to film the videos, so it's helping me too.
Only from the top half though, right? Because you're not wearing any bottoms.
I'm in heels from camera down.
That's usual.
But yeah, I mean, I'm always here. If people want to reach out and have a chat, I'm always open to the DMs. Just ping it over.
Flick us the details for the Flow State group, and I'll post it up for people.
Perfect. And then hopefully the next conversation we have, there's no speaking.
Oh yeah, like I'll get the video sorted and I'll smack it on the old YouTube channel.
Perfect. Thanks, mate.
All right, mate. Appreciate it. Enjoy your evening.
See you soon.
Take it easy, brother.
Bye.